So yesterday in class, we were talking about discrete functions and continuous functions. What we're going to make is a graphic organizer of sorts where we're going to figure out what the definition is in more understandable terms. And we're also going to look at the graphic representation, some equation format, and we're also going to look at the applications. So let's start with the definition of discrete functions. Well, what did we say in class? They were points. Then we also said we could count them. What else? Maybe they are not connected. Are not connected. And I think that probably is good enough. So just remember, it's a single point and it's never connected. So as a graph, it can look any way you'd like. It can look pretty linear like this is and this one, but it can also be some random points. So it could be like a scatter plot. So in this case, it would be y equals mx plus b format, where you would plug in the x and find the slope and find the y-intercept, and then you would be able to get y to get that second point. So it's always going to be an x comma y. And that's what these points here represent, is an x comma y. We're going to go into y equals mx plus b in probably 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even not the next 9 weeks, but for now, that's good enough. Now, the equation, we're talking more about how do you write the domain and the range for a discrete function. Well, the domain is going to be a list of x coordinates, or a list of the x coordinate. And I always put the little braces around it because that's how it's written. And then the range is always a list of y coordinates. Something we said yesterday in class, however, is that once a number repeats, you don't write it again. So if you had, for instance, a 1, 2, and a 1, 5, you wouldn't write the 1 again. So don't repeat numbers. And this one, look, it is a pretty linear model again, and we could write the domain for this, but I think you guys will get it from yesterday's lesson. And this one here is more of a scatter plot, which has a trend line, which is pretty positive, but right now we're not getting into scatter plots, so we're going to just leave that by itself. And the last thing here is the applications. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. And what it means by applications is, well, how does it look like? What it looks like. And you can also say those are examples. So with discrete, since we're counting, so how about the desks in a classroom? Then we could have the people in the classroom, which would be you students, but that's okay. How about a really weird one? The number of grapes on the vine. So you probably understand what I mean. You could even go on. So another really crazy one would maybe be something other to do with food. Could be maybe how many kernels of rice in a bag. That would be interesting. So kernels of rice in a bag. That's going to be a lot, but it's still discrete. So I hope you enjoyed this one. The next one's going to be about the continuous functions.